Hi, my name is Bonnie with Adentia Farms and Go to the Spa. Today I'm making soap, and it's been a while since I've done a soap video showing the process of making soap. And if you are interested in making soap, this may be a video that you would like to watch to see how soap is made. Soap requires oils and lye. This is a 50-pound bag of lye, and you can check your local chemical stores, or you can order it right online at lots of different soap supply websites. And today I'm doing a 20-pound batch of soap. That's pretty big. And it's because I sell soap wholesale sometimes, and that's what I'm doing today, of making unscented goat milk soap. I don't have a mold large enough for that. So I am using a box lined with some trash can liners. This is how I store my lye after I open the bag. I have a bucket that I've clearly marked with bright signs so that everybody knows that this is not something that you want to get into. And I keep this nice and out of the way and high up usually when I'm not using it. Okay, next thing, you definitely need a scale and a container to weigh your oils. I use this small bowl where I measure out. I can usually measure about 2 pounds of oils at a time, and I use an ice cream scoop for solid oils, like hydrogenated oils, like hydrogenated soy or coconut oil is solid, palm tallow, or I don't use tallow, but tallow is solid, I believe. Lard is solid. Palm kernel is what I meant to say. Palm kernel is solid, and palm is solid, but I usually just melt palm. So some of my oils will be solid and some of them will be liquid that I can just pour in. The next thing that's necessary is a stick blender. This is my old stick blender, and the motor is still okay. It still works. I like this one because it has different speed settings, so I still keep it around and use it. But I also have this one that's Cuisinart that has I can use it like this with this attachment, or I can use the whisk attachment. And the whisk attachment is very, very fast. It will really whip soap, so it's great for certain uses. You can't use anything that's aluminum when making soap because it will react. And this is my soaping pot. This is going to be filled almost all the way to the top today, and I think that this is 20 quarts. I'm not sure. Also, it's going to be goat milk soap with shea butter today that I'm making, just plain unscented. So here is my goat milk. I used to make goat milk soap in an ice bath because too much heat will react with the soap, causing an undesired color in the soap. Now you still get that little bit of orange-yellow color no matter what, but if you put the lye solution in a sink with ice water in it, you minimize that. Instead, what I do now is I freeze little containers of goat milk, and then I just take them out in the morning on the day that I'm making soap, and they're just really cold, and there might even still be a little bit of ice in there. So I mix the lye with really cold milk, and that works just as well. Sometimes I still need the bath. This is shea butter. You can call it shea butter or shea butter. Either way is fine, depending on where we live. We may, say it differently, but that's okay. I use unrefined shea butter because it has added skin benefits. And I generally like to make my soaps as natural and as raw as possible, using unrefined ingredients without preservatives and without chemicals when necessary or when possible. So this is about 5 ounces of shea butter, and I'm going to basically melt this down using a microwave double boiling method. I'm going to put a container of water underneath it and microwave it for several minutes. I almost have all of my oils in. I am melting down my coconut oil and my palm oil right now, so I can finish that off, and then I will come back to do the lye. This is pretty interesting if you are interested. I assume that you are since you're watching. This is palm oil. It's different than palm kernel. This is palm oil melted. Okay, so here is the palm oil that I melted, This is from Brambleberry. I really like their little safe to microwave and boil bags that you can just pop them right in the microwave, assuming they fit. They fit in my microwave, so great. But you can also get palm oil from a lot of other suppliers. This is one from another supplier. These are both 7 pounds. This one is a little cheaper, but I like this bag better. If you have one like this, obviously you are not going to be able to pour your palm oil out. So the easy way to do this is to fill up a canning kettle or large stock pot with water, bring it to a simmer, and just plop that sucker in and melt it down. You can see that it's very much solid and it doesn't come out. So it's kind of tricky working with these solid oils sometimes, but once you learn all the tricks, it's not so tricky. I am now getting ready to weigh some additional goat milk. I didn't have enough in my other containers for this recipe. Notice I am not providing you with a recipe because I am assuming that most people do not wish to make 20 pounds of soap. However, I would be happy to share with you some recipes that you can try. I will provide a link in the information section below the video. Click on more information and it will take you to a page with recipes. Okay, so now I have the appropriate amount of milk. It is recommended for you to use distilled water if you are using water in your recipe. I distill my own water because I have a distiller. But it's very cheap to buy at any store. Notice that I'm also wearing gloves. I'm also wearing goggles. And I know that you can't see that right now because I have my camera on a tripod, but before I work with lye, I make sure that I have goggles and gloves on. When I mix it, a lot of times I even wear a mask, which I may do today since this is a large batch. Okay, I have, let me pick up the camera and show you this. I store this container right in my lye bucket so that I have it, it's ready. I can tear the scale and then I can start weighing my lye. For this recipe I need 2 pounds and 1.4 ounces of lye. I also keep this scoop right in the bucket so I don't have to worry about it. Just put it all back and close it all up. If you should spill any lye, or spill any lye on yourself, or spill your lye mixture on yourself, lye is easily neutralized with vinegar. And you can't see it right now, but I have a full bottle of vinegar sitting right next to my refrigerator in case I should need that. I know exactly where to go. That is an important safety precaution that I highly recommend. Okay, I can only fit 1.5 pounds at a time, so I'm going to come back. Okay, so the remainder that I need is 9.4 ounces. If you're not so good at math, you ought to check all of this with a calculator. I'm doing the math in my head. I already dumped part of it in there. I'm just going to dump it in and then put this right back into my container. I'm going to close it up. And now it's aside, so I don't have to worry about it. You'll notice I put a piece of paper over my scale. These are the recycled ends from when I ship products out to customers. It's the other side of the shipping label, and I just fold it up into itself and put it right in the trash. And then I'm done with it. Okay, so over here I have my lye solution. I have my goggles on, and I have my gloves on. And I'm just going to stir. Ideally, you would want to stir this immediately because it does start to kind of clump up and everything. But with stirring, it will just completely dissolve. There will be fumes. I can see them. I'm going to back off. I'm actually going to turn my fan on and come back kind of in between breaths and stir. I'm going to back off, let it do its thing. I could feel the heat and see the fumes coming off the lye solution. And you don't want to breathe that in. It's not healthy for you to breathe it in. In the old days, soap was made by pretty much dripping water through ashes, which made lye, and then rubbing it together with fats. And that's how soap was made naturally in the old days. Now, these days, we've been able to refine it a little bit better and to make better soap. But this is mimicking a completely natural reaction. The way that soap was discovered is that there were animal sacrifices on tops of hills, on pyres, and the ashes and the fat and the rainwater coming down would all combine and make soap, and the soap would run downstream, and the women would notice that there was soap in the water. So soap was discovered. I'm going to let this cool down for a little while. While it's cooling down, these are all of my oils. Can you believe that? All of that is oil. I'm going to turn on the stove and try and break it up as much as I can with my stick blender while the lye solution cools down a little bit. When it cools down a little bit, then I'll start to add the milk. It's going to heat back up again. Okay, so I am getting ready to put the goat milk into the soap. Or into the lye. Okay. I am plugging up the drain in case I feel it's necessary to do an ice bath. But generally, I try to avoid it. With it being a large batch, I might be dealing with more heat than I want. Okay. I'm going to set up my tripod also. I have a little mini tripod that I can hold in my hand, or I can set it up. But I want to set it up because I'm going to need both of my hands for this. Okay, here we go. You will see immediately what I mean about color changes. I like to add gradually. If it starts to turn the color of carrots, I'm going to do an ice bath. But as long as it stays yellow like this, I'm just going to leave it like it is. I'm adding about 2 pounds of goat milk to this recipe. I'm starting to get a little bit more of an orange color than I would want to have, so I'm going to fill up the bottom with cold water and not add ice just yet. If I need to add ice, I will, but I'm not doing it just yet. Every time I add a little bit of goat milk, the mixture cools down initially and then raises higher in temperature, and I want to keep the temperature not so cold that it starts to solidify my goat milk, but not so hot that I get an undesired orange color to my soap. In the end, I really want to have a beige creamy color soap. Working with milk in your soaps is a little bit science and a little bit art. But you can't just throw it in or else you get some pretty funky looking soap. I also generally avoid using goat milk if I'm doing any kind of projects where coloring is important because it throws off the color. Here you go, look at that nice yellow color. That's what I want. I don't want carrot sauce. I want like a nice yellow color. Okay, I'm gonna go back over to my oils, which look like this now, and they need to look more clear. So I need to start firing it up. I'm going to basically try and heat it as little as possible, just enough to make this clear. I need the oils to melt. Some of them have a high melting temperature, and I need them to be clear. And I will show you my Shea butter, because this is completely melted down. Those chunks I showed you before, well, that is the Shea butter now, completely melted down. I'm going to put it back in the microwave where it's going to hold its heat and it will be ready for me. That oil is for super fatting, meaning it's not going to be turned into soap or saponified like the other oils will be. So I will come back to you when I am ready to mix the oils and the lye together. Okay, this is my oil. You can see that it's clear. There's just some bubbles in there. I did have to switch to my whisk because it's just more effective. But for mixing, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the old one, because while I was trying to mix with this one, I accidentally pressed the release button and the whole bottom came off. Now that would be like pretty much a nightmare if it dropped in my soap. Since oils is safe to just reach right in and grab, you know, I didn't have a problem, but I'm kind of scared of that happening now, so just to avoid the possibility, I'm going to use the other one that is completely attached. Okay, back over here to the lye. The top layer is a little thicker because of the fat in the goat milk. I use milk from, the breed is called Nubian goat milks, and they have the highest butterfat percentage, which makes it, in my opinion, the best for milk, because what you want is the fats, and really adds to the lather and makes it really silky smooth. You can see I'm working with like an amber yellow color here. Does not look like carrots, so I'm happy. Okay, and this is pretty heavy. In fact, I'm safety is always first, and I need to put down the camera, because if you're ever thinking that maybe you don't want to wear your gloves or your goggles today, just think about how terrible it would be to get yourself a chemical burn, or you know, burn your eyes or something, and then you have to live with that for the rest of your life. It's not worth it over a batch of soap. But I do want you to see what it looks like in the pot. It pretty much looks like oil right now, and I'm going to use this. I'm kind of glad I'm using this blender too, because it has settings. I'm going to start on low, and you're going to see what it looks like as it starts to turn into soap. I can go a little higher on this. But look, I told you this pot was going to be almost full, and it is, so I have to be careful. It's better to not have such a full pot, but... See these clouds coming up? It's starting to turn into soap and turn the oil, saponify the oil and turn it into soap. The lye will be completely used up, and there will not be any lye in your final soap product. The soap looks cloudy, the oil and the lye is mixing together and making a cloudy soap. When you can't visibly see any more separation, which I can still see it now, but when you can't, that is called light trace. And when we get to a heavier trace, you can actually see it start to thicken like pudding. Well, the soap is at a very thin trace still. We call it trace. And usually during trace you can start to see it lift up, and it's you can see it a little bit, but not very much. Anyhow, it's perfect timing to add the shea butter. This is going to be what makes the soap very moisturizing. This is a very moisturizing ingredient, and I'm going ahead and blend this in. Let me put this back. Using super fatting oils like shea butter or cocoa butter or mango butter or other butters or oils such as avocado, almond, etc., oils that have a moisturizing quality, it makes it like having lotion in your soap, which just makes it leave your skin feeling really nice. So if you can afford to put these oils in your soap, and they are generally more expensive than your other soap making oils, but if you can, you definitely should. And it's just a real treat to use a soap that has shea butter or cocoa butter or mango butter or other butters. Hemp seed butter is actually very nice, and I mean I have some other exotic butters, Takuma butter and stuff like that I use. I choose them all for different reasons, but shea butter is great, and that's what I'm using today. I'm back, and the soap is starting to thicken up a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. You see the texture on the top, how it's starting to look thicker, right in there. And if I lift this out, let me try it over here where the light is. You see the ripple of where the blender lifted out? That means it's trace. You can see the ripple, just look in the light right there. And you can see I'm moving the camera back and forth to show you the ripples. Trace is when it just kind of, when you lift it up, you can see it. See, look at that, you can see it. That is what we talk about when we're saying the soap is at trace. It can be very thick trace and kind of plop on top like pudding, or like taffy, or something like that. Or it can be a thin trace, more like this. This is more of a thin trace. You can pour, as soon as you see that, and I could pour it right now. I just, this is a pretty big batch. I just want to make sure it's very thoroughly mixed. And then next scene that you see is going to be me pouring the soap. I'm going to set up my tripod because this is going to be pretty heavy. Okay, I'm satisfied with my soap. I'm ready to pour it. This is pretty heavy. That is lots of soap. Okay. This is about the biggest size batch that I am even willing to work with. Any bigger than this and it just gets messy from there. So here you see that I have 20 pounds plus of soap in this box mold that I made. And it's holding up well. I do have another video of how to make a mold out of a cardboard box using a paper lined method, but a trash liner will work great too. And the great thing about it is you get a lid too. So I'm going to close this up and I'm going to throw some towels on top to insulate it. I would like this soap to gel. So, let's see, for now, I'll just throw this other mold on top, and I am going to grab some towels, let it gel. I will try and catch a video of it during the gel stage, but if I can't get that, then I'm sorry. Sometimes it gels fast, sometimes it takes forever, and sometimes it just won't gel, and it doesn't really matter. I would like it to gel because I would like it to be ready to use sooner. But it's not important in the long run. If your soap gels or doesn't gel, it's not an issue. Okay, well, I'll come back later. Bye. Okay, it's a little bit later on and my soap is in the middle of gel stage. See that? It starts in the center and it moves outward. And it is gelling. It will get to be a complete gel. It's also kind of puffing up a little bit, and that will settle too. Alright, that's what a gel looks like. You can see the difference in the color. Also looks a little bit more Vaseline-y, just a tad bit transparent. But in the end, we'll get a nice bar of soap. It'll go back a little bit. I mean, if only the center gelled and the outside was not gelled, you could see it in the final product, but I'm pretty sure with the amount of heat that we have that I'm working with here that I should get a full gel. So that's the soap, and tomorrow, when it's safe to handle, I can show you this big old 20-pound block of soap. Okay, bye. See you tomorrow. Hi, it's the very next day, and my soap is all hard. So I want to take it out and show you what this big block of soap looks like. I am just getting the tape off, and I'm going to flip it over and get it out that way. So there it is, the same soap. Okay, let me flip this over. This is a heavy batch of soap. Okay, here we go. Okay, I've got some plastic tearing now, but it's just because it's caught under the soap. There we go, soap. Have you ever seen such a big bar of soap in your life? Okay, well, let's just cut into this and see what it looks like inside. I'll cut off a little corner here to show you. There we go. We've got soap. I'm going to take a small piece like this for some pH testing. This is some soap that I just lathered up. And this is a pH testing strip. Basically, you just take some of the lather, and you can see that the colors have changed. By comparing the colors to the instructions, I can see that my pH, oops, wrong side, is about 8. The pH is about 8. Neutral pH is 7, and you want your soap to be usually within the range of 7 to 10. That's what I go for. And that would give you a nice, safe soap. And also, new soap tends to have a higher pH than soap that is aged a little bit. And that is in part why we recommend that you age your soap. The other part is the cure is to get the excess moisture out. But the next day, if your pH is 8, that is great. Okay, see you next time. Goodbye.